Shavua Tov. Wishing all of Am Yisrael Shavua Tov Ma'od, Nechamot, Geulot, and Yeshuot. Okay, so we were in the middle of a piece talking about the back and forth that Chava had with the Nachash that ultimately got her to eat. We described an inner dialogue that someone has with the Yetzer Hara, the battle between the Yetzer and the Yetzer Tov, and we said that ultimately what did her in was the suggestion of the Nachash at the end to say, well, if you really want to do what God wants you to do, and you really, really want to be earnest and sincere, and you take God seriously, then you'll be motivated to do what I'm suggesting from that point of view too. And that's what got her, that's what convinced her. We said that the last thing was that on the day that you eat from it, you will be like God, knowing good and evil. And we understood that to mean that like God is holy, and even though he knows evil, it doesn't affect him at all, right? Therefore, you can be like God and fulfill your mission to be godly downstairs by truly understanding what good and evil is, so that you may abstain from it and then truly merit to sustain the world through your holy service, right? We talked about that. So, we are on page 44, Mem Daled, in my edition, and we were talking about how we're actually on the verse after that. It talks about all the delightful things about the tree and the fruit that Chava apprehended or understood, and right, it talks about all the different senses, and it says ultimately it was that the tree was v'nechmad ha'etz lehaskil. It was pleasant to comprehend, to be illuminated by, and we understood that to be that ultimately her motivation was like the last suggestion of the Nachash, and she took from the tree and she ate it, and we noted some oddities in the pasuk where it says that she fed it to Adam. So I'm just going to reread that, and then we're going to pick up where we left off. Okay, so we are in Perek Gimel, and we are on Pasuk Hey. Right? And then it says, Pasuk Vav. It says, Vatera Isha, and the woman saw, Kitova etz lemachal, the tree was good to eat. V'chitava tavahu la'inayim, and it was lustful to the eyes. Right? We asked what all this stuff means. V'nechmad ha'etz la'askil, and it was pleasant to be illuminated by. Vatikach mipiryo, and she took from its fruit. Vatochal, and she ate. Vatiten, and she gave. Gam la'isha, also to her man. And we noted how gam here is superfluous. It could have said vatiten la'isha. And then it says another superfluous word, ima, with her. Vayochal, and he ate. So once again it says, Vatiten gam la'isha, and he gave also, Vatiten, and she gave, gam la'isha, also to her man, ima, who was with her, Vayochal, and he ate. Those are two extra words, gam and ima. I could have just said, Vatiten la'isha, Vayochal. Okay? So now, addressing that part of the pasuk where she fed Adam, Vatiten gam la'isha. You see that? Okay. Yes. And she gave also to her man, Amar Rabbeinu Zal. Our masters point out in Bereshit Rabbah, Sheha'achila lechol habriot. She fed to all the creatures, Zulat hachol, except for the fishies. V'zeh yarbe hagam. That's what the Alshech HaKadosh is suggesting when it says the word gam also. It means she didn't just give it to man, but also the animals. Why would she do that? Also, I'm just suggesting maybe, but the gam, okay.
The problem is that really the whole thing about the eitz, that vera, is to increase your dad, and the animals don't have dad. So what's the purpose of feeding the animals at all?
Well, do you think after she ate from it, she still believed the ruse of the Nachash? Don't you think she realized exactly what happened right after she ate from it?
Right.
So all this stuff she's doing now, why is she feeding it to everybody?
So that she's not alone.
So obviously she's not coming from the same place as she was when she ate it herself, now that she's feeding everybody, right? She's immediately now trying to do damage control.
Well, how would you do damage control by feeding everybody?
Meaning you can ask
yourself.
Whatever it is, but right now, everything she's doing now is a result of her fallen state after eating. Whatever arguments we use to get her to that point, that's not, she knows the truth now. Meaning something very subtle happened from when she ate it to now all her actions is a result of somebody after they ate from the Eitz Hadat. Just bear that in mind.
That's true, but how her actions demonstrate exactly the opposite. If it's damage control, she would have just not even given it to Adam nor the animals.
Think of what damage control is from a woman's perspective.
She's enlightened.
She's not concerned about the rest of the world. She's not trying to fix things. She's trying to damage control in terms of her fallen state. She's trying to limit the damage of what kind of repercussions she will have. You can't cover your tracks. So what is she doing? She doesn't want to be alone. Here, let's see. Where are we talking about this now? The Alshech wants to tell us, okay? Okay, so she fed all the creatures except for the fish. How'd they know not the fish? Why wouldn't she feed the fish? He doesn't get into that. So the Gam over there is referring to the Midrash that says she fed all the creatures too. Od Amru, and they also said, Ki achilato mikin'ah. She fed him. Why did she feed him? Out of jealousy. Pen tamut hi. She's going to die. V'acheret yikach lo. And he'll get another Rebbetzin.
It's fascinating because kin'ah was the problem that the Nachash had. It's the same energy that's fueling her now.
She names her kid Kayin. We can pick up on that theme later. But really what he means over here, he just means that she's thinking about how Adam Rishon is going to go on and move on in life. And she's basically just taking herself out. And she can't deal with the repercussions now. Okay, so V'achashva kivnu lahashiv el teva achat yetera shebakatuv. And this understanding that she was concerned about Adam moving on in life was hinted to them by an extra word in the verse. V'hu amro ima, and that's when the verse says ima with her. It says, and she fed the man ima with her. They could have just said she fed her man. V'havale l'meimar, it should have just said vatiten gam leisha vayocha, and she gave also to her man, and he ate. My imo, what is the word with her coming to explain? Ella. Rather, l'shiyeh ima v'lo imzulato, that meaning she fed him, she was motivated to feed him, that he should still be with her and not with someone else. O yomar, alternatively, ima, the word with her, inyan mamaramzal. This is referring to the verse when the Medrash, when our sages say in Bereshit Rabbah, al pasuk ki shamata lekol ishtecha. So later on, God is going to track him down, and he's going to confront them, and he's going to say, why'd you do it? And then he's going to give everybody their just reward. And he prefaces his remarks to Adam in terms of the repercussions of eating from the Eitz Hadat by saying, Ki shamata lekol ishtecha, that you listen to the voice of your wife. Meaning that's got to scare a man from ever wanting to listen to his wife again. Ki shamata lekol ishtecha, that you've listened to the voice of your wife. It could have just said, Ki shamata li'ishtecha, you listen to your wife. What's this issue of the voice? Shehitchila mi'alelet alav bekola. So the sages explain that she started crying and having a tantrum upon him with a raised voice. Mi'alelet, yelila, is like a bitter, aggressive crying, complaining. That she kind of like, she had a tantrum. Kihine ra'ui ladat, it is worth noting, ma kol yelala hishmiato lachilo. What kind of crying, a voice of crying, did she make him hear in order that he should eat? Uma gamba amra mi'alelet alav, and when the sages say that she cried upon him, ki amro alav, when they say upon him, miyuta, it could have just said ki mi'ayelet, she's screaming. Why does it have to say that she's screaming on him? Ach yireh, it would appear, shahita mi'alelet, what was she crying about? Al hanogea elav, that which was relevant to him, meaning directly relating to him. V'halo adarab, just the opposite. Ti'alel al atzma, you just ate. Why are you crying? What does the Medrash mean that she's crying about him? She should be crying about herself. V'lama yamit hu et atzmo al yililata, and just because she's having a tantrum, why should he do something that causes him death? He's raising all these questions.
No, I've been asking these questions for the last 10 years.
Well, let's see if you'll be satisfied in moments now. Don't be disappointed. Amnam, however, yitur amro lekol, the addition when God talks to Adam and he says, the voice of your wife. The fact that it pointed out that he listened to her voice, because the verse should have said, because you listen to your wife. What does it mean, the voice of your wife? This, what it means is that Chava is saying to Adam, Tsarli, it is painful for me, alecha, regarding you, bimoti, when I die, ki alo bat zugcha anochi, I am your soulmate. V'ka'asher hamavit yafrid bein nafshecha v'nefesh bat zugcha, and when death separates between your soul and the soul of your soulmate, hachashuvot ka'achat, which are considered as one, I'm a whole half of your soul. You're going to be bereft. You're going to be like a destroyed Beit HaMikdash. Kima'amaram zal, like our sages have taught us, Misha meta ishta rishona, somebody who loses his first wife dies, he's widowed by his first wife, he becomes a widower. Ki'ilu nachar Beit HaMikdash biyamav, it's as if he witnessed in his own days the terrible destruction of God's temple. Ve'alelai lecha, and I'm crying on you. I'm mourning for you. I'm saying lamentations on your loss, Adam, because now I'm going to die, and you're going to be all alone, and you're going to be worse off. You're not going to be like all the other men that never even got married the first time. And then maybe later on, in a later incarnation, if they didn't marry this time, eventually, they have multiple chances to be united, to rendezvous with their soulmate. This thing, lo chenu, that won't apply to us. Ki im olamit, we will be separated forever. It will be an eternal loss. Ki hu ya'amad chai la'olam, because you're going to live forever. V'hi tamut, and she's going to die. He's going to live forever, and she's going to die, and therefore he's not going to be in a state that he can ever have her back. Ula'olam lo yitchabru od, and forever they will not cleave again. V'zeu amram, and that's what the Midrash means when it says, mi'alelet alav, she was crying about him. Kilomar, ala nogei alav, what his fate, his destiny will be. That was her sale. V'zeh yitachen, and this is reasonable to ponder, kevan ba'amro ima, that's the intent of the verse when it said that she cried, that she fed the man who was with her. Meaning she did it in order to convince him, or she convinced him to eat by telling him that he needed to be with her.
But she could have come back as a Gilgul.
She couldn't.
Why?
Because he'll never be available to her.
Why?
Because it's his incarnation. Meaning this incarnation, it didn't work. Well, we'll think about it in a second. Okay? Right? And that's what it meant, Ima, Lomar, to say, Ki ezo ta'ana, what was her argument, Amrala, that she said to him, Lachilo, to get him to eat? Halohu, what was the argument? It was, Li'isha Ima, to be her man with her. Vihu, and that means, Kinat nagam li'isha, she also gave to her man, Lemashia Ima, in order that he should still be with her. V'lo ya'abed batzugo, and he should not lose his soulmate. V'tov lahem b'chayehem, and better that they should live together, u'b'motam lo yitpardu, and when they die, they will not be separated. If she dies, he dies too. Well, Sham'o eleh bazen, because he listened to her with this argument, Heshima yitbarach, God faulted him and blamed him. He was guilty. Ba'amro, and that's why God told him, Ki shamata lekol ishtacha, you listen to that crying about how bereft you would be like a destroyed Beit HaMikdash that your wife told you. Shehaya hakol, that the voice, this crying, these tears, this raised voice of Yilala, inyan heyot ishtecha, about being your wife, that's what you listen to, Kam Dubar, like we have said.
I'm just thinking now about the pasuk we learned earlier, that why God made them one. Because had he not made them one, this probably wouldn't have happened. Had they not made them as one, her argument to him wouldn't have been so powerful.
Oh yeah, and it's only because she spent time latent as Nekeva and Istsela that makes that bond, and that's the bond that would be problematic in this case, exactly. That's
which begs the question, is it all a setup? Did God set it
up?
One
second. Yeah. That question, I don't see the relevance here, because you also, like I said, that even if they didn't sin, that was totally necessary. That was necessary independent of the sin. That's not what makes the sin so powerful. That's what gives them the ability to cleave at all. Remember, right. That's what. So how could you have soulmates without that? Independent of this whole question. question of eating. Here, what I suggest is think about it like this. What's the answer to her argument? What should Adam have said?
That's exactly the point. I'd like to just think about that.
What would have been the tikkun?
Because really what we're saying is that the power of the soulmate is stronger than the power of the connection between you and your parents.
Right? We don't say till death do us part.
No, but what I'm trying to suggest is that whilst that is the case, maybe what Adam should have been saying is that the power of my soulmate should not be greater than the power between me and God. Because that's what he's choosing. He's choosing her over God.
Okay, so remember when we said that the Nachash has all kinds of arguments, but the truth is the whole thing is stupid, because ultimately whatever he says, you have to remember he's trying to get you to do other than what God told you to do.
Right.
So here too also, you don't have to be smart enough to think it out. She's presenting a problem.
Yeah.
That's not your issue. That's not the issue. Nothing tells you that you can do what God told you not to do.
Right.
That's all. Keep it simple.
Right. But you asked the question, what should
but
he
I'm
have
asking,
said?
but I'm asking, what would have been the solution? What would have been? Let's say he didn't eat and she did, and then God said, "Okay, we have a problem here."
Yeah.
Would he have made her? Would he have made Adam a new Chava?
Presumably.
That couldn't have worked.
Why?
Because it's too late. Because the whole thing that allows them to connect is because before she was fully formed, she was inside of him from his inception. You'll never have that situation again. You'd have to remake Adam from scratch to have that. In order to be mitchaber with her, there is nobody but Chava. So the question is, what would he have done?
You mean to say that once she's eaten, there is no other solution than to eat with her?
No. I'm saying there's got to be a solution, but the solution could not have been to make Chava is not now irrelevant to make another. He can't make another mate because he can't go back in time and put her into him and then make him.
So let's answer your question. What should he have done?
No, I'm asking you. You should answer my question. I don't know, but it'd be interesting. Meaning, what would God have done to fix it? Would he have to wait for Chava to do a tikkun? Only Chava would have gone out of the Gan Eden? It doesn't make any sense. So what I think is that on some level, it's a foregone conclusion anyway. If one of humanity eats from the tree, it's a total package.
Because they're inseparably
you can't,
connected.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know what would have been. I mean, I'm not saying it was a setup, but once Chava ate from it, it's a foregone conclusion. And the question is, why does Adam have to be punished? He can't. It's not that he's punished. He needs a tikkun also because it affects him.
Right.
These are mysterious things. I don't know. Meaning, I don't know if her argument was true too. Maybe Adam Rishon could have prayed for Chava and he could have done the fixing for her because they were still connected and there was a part of her through him that was elevated.
Right.
You know, that's we Am Yisrael has that kind of relationship also in terms of the range of neshamot at any given time that are connected to Am Yisrael. It's the neshamot that are connected that can elevate those that are not. Right? Who knows what it would have been? But we do know, like we said before, that he shouldn't have fallen for the argument because as Alshech is going to quote Chazal have a famous line, Divrei Harav, Divrei HaTalmud, Divrei Mishomim. If your Rebbe tells you something, and if the Rebbe says something and the student says something, and they're contradictory, who do you listen to?
The Rebbe.
Right. If God tells you something and the Nachash tells you something, who do you listen to? Right? If the wife tells you something but God told you something, who do you listen to?
Right.
That's all you have to know.
Right.
Okay. So now, the next piece is a little bit long, and it talks about the fallout after eating. Should we start it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read some verses.
So let's